Well, factoring into today's video, you can have a look at the weather for the next 8 to 10 days today. No great changes really on the update I did on Tuesday. It looks as though high pressure is going to be building in over the weekend and into next week. So up to day 10, which is around the 8th of September. We're looking at a lot of dry weather really with high pressure dominating. It's going to become very warm to times next week, particularly in the south, with temperatures at least up to the mid-20s, possibly up to the high 20s in places. That's into the 80s Fahrenheit once again. So summer is on the way back. How long this goes on for, though, that really is the question now. I think it's certainly going to get this spell of summer-like weather next week. How far it goes into September is going to be the question we have to answer. Now, before I get on with that, just want to talk about the ads. Video ads on my pages at GazOffice.com. You can play on video ads. You'll be supporting GazOffice.com. Thanks very much for doing that. So, very quickly having a look at the 500 millibar height to anomaly flow charts. We've got the ECMWF on the left. The GFS is over on the right. 500 millibars is an area in the atmosphere, 18,000 feet, where high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. That is essentially what weather is, the movement of there by the jet stream. Orange is extrapolating to high pressure, blue is extrapolating to low pressure. No surprises what's going on in the next 8 to 10 days. Got a very big area of above average heights, high pressure on both the GFS and the ECMWF, sitting right over the top of the country and extending in some ways to the north as well. So it does connect back into, interestingly, into blocking up around Greenland, which is these areas of orange and red over here. So this could all eventually, I did say this in the video on Tuesday, this could all eventually finish up in the form of another big blocking feature over the Arctic, and could turn very cool and unsettled actually from this if there was to be retrogression and to take that high pressure up to Greenland and into the Arctic, centric really over the Arctic, where it's ridging to there. It could all end up as a very cool and unsettled scenario, but certainly for the next week anyway, up to around the 8th of September, it does look as though high pressure is going to be in control, keeping it main dry, sunny and warm. So here's the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. We're around the red line at the moment. It's around average. A little bit warmer than it has been, and certainly today it feels quite muggy actually, but it's not really until we get through to the 1st of September, dead on the 1st of September, which is just here, we go above average. So it's quite interesting, the very first day of autumn, and the temperatures are shooting up, and then you see that we go well above the red line, the 30-year average, for most of next week. So it is going to be a warm week, very warm, if not locally hot, perhaps down in the southeast, or certainly hot for the time of year, with temperatures possibly up to 27 degrees, 81 Fahrenheit. That wouldn't really be hot in July, but of course 81 Fahrenheit in September is going to be pretty hot. So the questions come in around the 7th or the 8th of September, which is this area just here, when we've got a big split beginning to emerge within the ensembles then, between some that keep the warmth extended out into the second week of September, and several members of the ensemble actually go quite cool, go below average. So you couldn't really look at that. It's in the unreliable time frame of the GFS model anyway. You couldn't really look at that and pinpoint what's going to happen in the second week of the month. There's a great deal of scatter there. Many options are on the table. Could stay very warm, or it could cool down. But the overall mean of the ensemble, which is this white line, does interestingly cool down. So perhaps the trend with amongst the ensemble members anyway is to cool things down into the second week of September. Remember, in September the sun is rapidly sinking away into the southern hemisphere, so it gets increasingly difficult to sustain high temperatures for day after day after day. At some point we will almost certainly infiltrate cooler air into the high pressure. Even if the high pressure sticks over us, we'll start to infiltrate cooler air at some point into that high pressure, because the sun is very rapidly weakening. It's very rapidly cooling in the northern latitudes, so it gets harder the further into September we go to generate very warm temperatures. The rainfall spike show it's going to be very dry over the next week. Really not much going on at all until we get to around the 7th, 8th, 9th of September, when we get this split emerging in the temperature ensembles, interestingly, but we start to see some rainfall spikes coming back. But even then, a lot of dry weather, so what could happen is that we keep the high pressure going, but we could bring cooler air perhaps from the north or the northeast into that high pressure. But of course that's pretty speculative, and you can't really pinpoint what will happen in the second week of the month from the split in those ensembles. The temperature anomaly from the 28th of August to 5th of September shows we're going to be warmer than average, as is most of Europe, going warmer than average once again. The rainfall anomaly, precipitation anomalies, show it could be drier than average, particularly in the south, very, very dry spell coming up from the 28th of August to the 5th of September. So here's how we go into the middle of next week with the GFS model. We've got high pressure right over top of the country, a nice area of high pressure, 1025 millibar, and that just sort of sits around the country as we go through into the 4th. The high pressure is still there, dominating the conditions. And even up to day 10, Sunday the 7th of September, the high pressure is still more or less in. Just showing signs of slipping a little bit to the west, maybe pulling in some slightly cooler air from the northeast by that time. But overall, it's high pressure well and truly in control. And that high pressure would be in there for probably another few days at least after that. It's very difficult to see how we would break that down within, say, 2 or 3 days. So beyond that, into the second week of the month, we will probably keep that high pressure around. Its position is what is open to question. The ECMWF, well, this is very warm for the middle of next week. Look at this, Thursday the 4th of September, the high pressure is just to the east of the country, pulling in the winds from the southeast, so that's going to be really quite hot air coming in. You can definitely see 27 Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit in the south and the southeast. From that, we move through into Friday the 5th, and high pressure still goes on. And then going through to Sunday the 7th, well, still a lot of anticyclonic influences. Again, the idea is probably that the high pressure is going to a slightly cooler position, sitting more out to the southwest, so maybe bringing in more of an Atlantic influence, if anything. These areas of low pressure look as though they're safely stuck in the mid-Atlantic, but I suppose they could break through if this high pressure was to start to flatten off. But of course, again, that's going into the second week of the month and into the unreliable time frame. So what we can say with good confidence is that the change to much warmer, drier weather is still on course for next week. We're going to get a spell of late summer warmth, and it's where we go after that that is open to question. Any time from around the 5th to the 8th. Also, we're going to keep high pressure in control, but do we start to bring cooler air into that high pressure? That's going to be the question. And then, of course, going through the second week of the month, it's how long can the high pressure go on for? Will it start to break down? But, yes, certainly for the next week, summer's coming back. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.